What is a heart-led approach to language learning? You may be asking. Well, in this video, I'm going to read a little bit from my book, Heartful Spanish, Your Joyful Path to Fluency, because although this is focused on Spanish, it's applicable to learning any language. And this section is called The Heart and the Emotions. And I start with a quote from Rumi. The heart has its own language. The heart knows 100,000 ways to speak. Heart or mind? In my early 20s, I lived in Japan for 3 years, teaching English as an assistant in secondary schools in the Osaka area. In my very first term there, I had a fabulous co-teacher called Ukena Sensei. And together, we spent our days teaching 12-year-olds who had never learnt English before. I would talk in simple English, engaging the kids in conversation, with lots of miming, and Ukena Sensei would repeat back everything I said in Japanese. This worked well for the kids to get them used to listening to English, and it was also brilliant immersion for me in Japanese, which may have subconsciously been my reason for creating my bilingual immersion podcast, the Heartful Spanish podcast, some 25 years later. Anyway, the reason I mention this is that I remember being shocked one day when I said a sentence using the word mind, and Ukena Sensei translated it as kokoro, which I knew meant heart in Japanese. He even touched his hand on his heart. What? Years later, I learned that this is common to other Asian languages too. Here's what John Kabat-Zinn has to say about it. In Asian languages, the word for mind and the word for heart are the same. So if you're not hearing mindfulness in some deep way as heartfulness, you're not really understanding it. Compassion and kindness towards oneself are intrinsically woven into it. You could think of mindfulness as wise and affectionate attention. On a similar note, the spiritual teacher Muji said these wise and soothing words. Bring your mind into your heart, and the world will not trouble you. Got the page stuck. A kind of softening occurs when we bring our mind into our heart, a quietening of the egoic self. I believe that leaning into this softening, allowing ourselves to be guided by our heart's wisdom, is the key to living a fulfilled life and showing up as our best selves, moment to moment. And the same applies to language learning. If we want to become fluent quickly and easily, it's essential to ignore the mind's ego chatter, or better still, notice it and intentionally soften, letting ourselves be guided instead by the joy in our heart. Over the following pages, I'll show you how. Mindfulness, the emotions, and language learning. The word mindfulness is often translated in Spanish as plena atención, meaning full attention. If you're familiar with mindfulness practice, you'll know it's all about training in present moment awareness, slowing down and paying full attention to the world around you and to the feelings and sensations in your body. Mindfulness is proven to have positive effects on the brain, aiding concentration and cognitive function, deepening intuition and insight, and improving mood and emotional well-being. Mindfulness practice is the antidote to the fast-paced, superficial lifestyle most of us live today, which has led more and more of us to experience unhappiness or mental health challenges. Our constant busyness and the need to be always doing or striving often mask our numbing out of difficult emotions and experiences. But emotions are our teachers, and if we bypass them or numb them out, we won't learn the important lessons they are here to teach us. Life will keep on providing us with more opportunities to learn those same lessons until we finally sit up and take notice. Usually this happens in a not very pleasant bash you around the head way through some kind of life crisis, and we don't want that, do we? So what does this have to do with language learning? Well, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I can't stress enough that full engagement with the emotions and the senses is essential for fast, easy, and successful language learning. And therein lies the connection between the practice of mindfulness and immersion-based, heart-led language learning. If you can be present to touch, smell, taste, hear, or see the things you are learning to talk about in your foreign language, actually it says Spanish, in Spanish, as well as feeling all the emotions these senses provoke in you, it will cement the words in your vocabulary much more quickly and lastingly than if you just learnt them two-dimensionally via a language app or a textbook. This is because engagement with the emotions and the senses is closely linked to memory and reinforces the way we learn. Rather than just cognitive or theoretical learning, we gain a deeper, more experiential understanding this way. A mindful emotions-based approach to languages creates new neural pathways that merely reading words on a page or screen cannot produce. As the old saying goes, tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. The more we practice the Spanish language in this engaged, mindful, heart-led way, the easier it will be for us to remember the new words and expressions we come across, and the sooner we'll start to feel fluent. Heart energy. Our hearts hold deep wisdom and beautiful, loving energy, and our lives would be so much easier if only we could practice getting out of our heads and into our hearts more often. In our heads, we are often led by fear, worry, and what-ifs, the default voice of our ego, our learned patterns. When we live from our hearts, our experience is more expansive, and we are loving, compassionate, and magnanimous. That was not easy to say. We are one with our wise inner self, and the innately open, self-accepting, curious mindset we had as babies. The easiest way to experience heart energy is to think back to one of the most profoundly beautiful emotional experiences of your life, a deeply loving connection or a moment of great joy perhaps. Close your eyes and revisit that moment in your life, trying to relive all the feelings as vividly as possible. What are the sensations in your body? How does it feel in your heart area? Spend a few minutes savouring these elevated emotions and enjoy reliving the bodily experience and expansive energy of your joyful or loving moment from the past. This is heart energy, and we can tap into it anytime we choose. The more we practice getting in tune with our heart energy, the more connected we will be to our best, most conscious selves, and the easier our connection and communication with others will be. We have all the answers within. We just have to slow down and listen. When I first learned about heart energy and experienced its power, I knew this was something I wanted to keep as a daily or multiple times daily ritual to keep me present to my best self more often throughout the day. I loved it so much, I even named my podcast after it. Follow your heart and life will unfold beautifully before you. And the same principle applies to language learning, as we'll explore later. Heart energy and communication. When we proactively choose to connect with our heart energy prior to communicating with our loved ones, or before a conversation we anticipate could be difficult, we can call up our best, most loving self, and the result will be greatly improved communication, harmony, and ease. And that's where it comes in handy for our language practice. Anytime you have to make a phone call in Spanish or face a situation that could potentially cause you to feel nervous or worried about your speaking or comprehension skills, spend a few moments prior to the interaction focusing on the energy of your heart to quieten the voice of your inner critic and bring you back into alignment with the best, most eloquent and coherent version of yourself, trusting that the words you need will come to you. This technique is great for ensuring optimum understanding and communication between two or more people, And if they taught it in schools, the world would be a better place. I truly believe that. Mini heart energy infusions throughout your day. And this is the last section I'll read. This is a fantastic 1-minute technique, a mini version of the previous exercise. It can be used in life in general, or in our case, specifically applied to the language learning situation. Get into the habit of taking regular pauses throughout your day, whenever you remember, or whenever you're about to change activity or location, or you're about to interact with somebody new. Remember to infuse your whole being with the loving energy of your heart. It's a super simple trick, but a very powerful way to live more in alignment with your wisest, most loving self. Try this before you practice your Spanish or every time you start a new chapter or exercise, and notice how the energy around your interactions and experiences changes. Let's do it now. All you have to do is pause for a moment and drop into a place of deep stillness, knowingness, or oneness. You might call this your inner calm, your higher self, your divine spark, consciousness, or connection to God, source, or love, whatever works for you. Simply place an intention or a wish into your heart. Breathe into it and watch the magic unfold. Here are some examples of intentions you could try. I intend to experience fun and joy in my Spanish practice today. I wish to learn with curiosity and openness. I am choosing ease and flow now. I am open. Or a one-word version. Joy, ease, flow. You don't even need words for this one. You can just set a wordless intention, connecting to the feelings you wish to experience. Try it. It's powerful and super easy. Very different tips on language learning, as I think you'll agree. Let me know in the comments if you've tried any of these techniques, if you've heard them before, and if you're going to use them in your language learning. Keep going in the direction of your big fluency dream. It doesn't have to be hard. Let's just let our hearts lead the way and trust in the beautiful unfolding.